1st December, that is today, is observed as World AIDS Day for myriad reasons. With 2022 coming to an end, we are still scrambling for media representation that is authentic to the queer community, especially those that are affected by the HIV pandemic. My name is Phelian. My pronouns are he and they, and I'm extremely excited to be introducing prolific filmmaker, screenwriter, editor, and producer, Onir. Onir, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you. Good morning. I
Good.
love your lipstick, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Now, My Brother Nikhil is an even more landmark of film because it was released in 2005. I want to know if there's any difference between the challenges that you faced in 2005 versus now, and what were they like?
Easier in some ways because not only was it was easier, I feel, to get the kind of cast I got at that time, in spite of it being my first film. Yeah, in spite of living in a world where being queer was criminalized by law. Okay, and here I stand in 2022. I've just completed a film called Pinecone, okay, which is a queer narrative celebrating our lives over 3 decades of changing political scenario, social political scenario of LGBTQI narrative. I still don't find finance support. It will face its problems while releasing. I won't have people. If I was launching someone's son or daughter by now, I would have had calls coming from the uh, platforms that, Onir, we want your film. But no one is as excited if when you're launching 5 new actors who don't come from a lineage, and some of them happen to be queer. There are people who there'll be actors who are saying that, oh, Onir, I've just done a gay role, and I'm like, but you've done 10 straight roles. What is a gay role? You know,
Yeah. I'm a very visual forward person and I keep being drawn to visual memory. So I wanted to ask you, what's the first shot or visual imagery that comes to your mind when you look back on the film?
visuals are emotional. They just trigger off certain emotions in me. For me, be it the visual when Nikhil is on a wheelchair sitting at the kind of pier of the house in Goa, and it's just night holding him, and there's this song with Kike's voice, or the scene where Jurab are just sitting outside and Nikhil is inside, and that bond between the two, her accepting, it's much more. It's a visual with so much more. Especially, I think the first memory action, now thinking of it, that comes, and that recurs, which I've used in my film Pinecone. I've used the same image, is when both of them, it's when Nigel is dying, and kind of there's a, not flashback, but the image of both of them sitting by the sea, looking out and waiting for dawn. I think that waiting for dawn is an important statement. It's also about waiting for the time when we all get accepted and celebrated.
How was it like trying to speak to a largely heteronormative society who don't have any personal stakes in the story?
As culturally, we speak in a certain way. We have music in a certain way. I am going to use music and song. Like in Pinecone, it has everything, you know. And while an Indian friend of mine watching it says, "Audio is the most commercial and accessible of all your films." Replace the guy with a girl, it's the same thing. And for me, that is important, and that was why when I was writing My Brother Nikhil, it was my brother Nikhil and not my lover Nikhil. Because a brother sister relationship is something that we really, really cherish. And I thought a queer character through the gauge of a sister who loves him unconditionally is the gauge that I wanted my audience to have. Despite that, it was not easy. There were people, I was told, that in Calcutta and other cities, when in interval point they realize, and especially a group of boys, if they realize that the character is gay, they would walk out or start laughing. And a lot of that I realized over the years is their own insecurities about maybe their own fluid sexuality. And the same platforms and TV channel will call me for talk about inclusion and diversity, mostly, not all, mostly cisgendered men and women being asked by platforms, by producers, by studios to make films about our narrative. And I'm thinking that, am I so unapproachable, or do I make such terrible films that no one tells me, you know, what is it? And I feel that there is a fear that what the narrative that I want to claim or tell is too queer.